Hey guys, quick one today. Q3 2024 is in the books, and that is time for the fundamental funding statistics for architecture, engineering, construction, and supply chain technology. So let's take a look. Hey guys, so Q3 2024 is in the books. What better time to look at the funding statistics for our beloved sector that is architecture, engineering, construction, and supply chain technology. So with that quarter in the books, let me walk you through my colleague Gabriele's, my colleague Jakob's, and my analysis of the funding stats for 2024. This will be a short one, so I'll make it nice and sweet and quick. First of all, just on the scoping again, we look at core construction technology and we add on top of that the sectors that are very, very close in spirit and the way you optimize it. So that is renovation technology, that is planning and design technology. So all of the BIM stack and CAD stack, for example, as well as the supply chain technologies and companies that directly relate into construction tech. So supply chain, for example, here does not include e-commerce or generic logistics kind of companies. We make a very curated selection here. First message, we now stand in AECS technology at 35 billion in total VC funding, and that is without Katerra, View, and Helio. With Katerra, View, and Helio, if you were to count them, technically they are part of AECS-Tech, and if we were to count them, we would stand at 44 to 45 billion in total VC funding, but we exclude them because actually they distort the numbers pre-2021 too much. That's what it looks graphically. So we've added in 2024 in total about 2.5 billion in funding yet. 800 of that came in Q3. And you see here that the core construction category has the highest share of that, while the additional renovation, planning and design and the related supply chains add an additional 10 billion also. The quarterly growth remains generally stable. What you see here is the last 4 rolling quarters. That always gives me a more rolling forward kind of view of how the funding for the last year, the last 12 months is developing. So you can see that we're generally slowing down, but compared to just right before 2021, we're exactly where we should be. The next quarter will be quite interesting to see whether we are going back to an uptrend. And you have to keep in mind, the overall VC funding is actually looking much worse than the one in construction tech, which is something I'm going to show you in a second. That also means that the average per quarter post 2021 compared to pre-2021, we're still up 70%. The peak quarter hasn't changed in Q3. Now the market share in terms of total VC, AECS-Tech is actually slightly increasing. So we're at 0.54% compared to 0.53% in the previous quarter, so almost the same. However, the quarter Q3 showed a 0.8% market share, and that is a very strong peak quarter. It's the second strongest market share that AECS-Tech has had as a share of total VC funding, and in total that also means that we're at about 2x of what we had pre-2021. That's the 0.54% on average, as a median. The funding round sizes, that's interesting. The seed stages are at absolute all-time high in AECS-Tech. So you can see that here on the screen that we're at more than 3 times larger than the seed rounds in AECS-Tech were 10 years ago. And that is the highest that it's ever been, while the growth rounds are continuing to decrease. So that's a trend I'll want to keep monitoring. However, we are still looking on average like the whole VC category is looking. The concentration, however, increased in Q3, and that is something to monitor, because I keep making the point that concentration ratio, when it's lower, in and around the 20 to 30%, that means that the sector offers a lot of optionality for investors. Here, however, the top 4 deals in the last quarter made 50% of the total funding. The top 10 deals made 70% of the total funding. That was not a good quarter for AECS-Tech, and that means that in Q3, there was not enough optionality on the market for investors to invest in. However, stay positive about this, because Q3 traditionally is a very, very slow VC month. July and August are basically dead months for VC investment. September is then ramping slowly up, but it's actually still not hot season. The hot season for VCs is always October through December, which is one of the core explainers why the concentration ratio in Q3 is typically higher. So let's monitor Q4 and then we can compare. The breakdown by region, thanks to my colleague Jacopo, we added this this quarter the first time. So you can see that in North America and APAC, AECS-Tech had about 1% market share. In Europe, only 0.5%. Rest of the world, only 0.2%, which indicates to me that North America, APAC, exactly how we've expected it in the past. AECS-Tech has matured a little bit quicker than in Europe, but Europe also, I think, is a healthy market. In terms of the round sizes, you can see exactly what I just said also, because in Europe we actually had larger, later stage rounds in all VC, which is quite interesting. And it's about the same size as we have in North America. And in terms of even the early stage funding, the average round sizes are a little bit larger in AECS-Tech than they were in the US. What you can see in APAC is that the late stage funding for AECS-Tech is not yet at a point where we can say it's at equilibrium with the other markets. The concentration ratio is very high in North America. So here, this is the concentration ratio 3, not 4. So the 3 largest deals in North America in AECS-Tech in Q3 made up about 40%. That was Monarch, Katerra, and Node. In Europe, it was only about 10%. So much more liquid and much more optionality in Europe. And that is in spite of a very large round for Hero Software of 43 million. But the next 2 rounds were relatively well-sized, Series A, small Bs, or in the case of Build-Outs, it might be an extension of a prior round, actually. And so on and so forth. So the concentration ratio was very much distorted by the US market, as you can see here. And then final point, unicorns, no big change here, except that it looks like Nexi might be coming back from administration, but I suspect probably not at a unicorn valuation. So overall, my summary is that Q3, because it's a very slow VC quarter in general, doesn't give us too much insights. Concentration ratio increased. We added 800 million in total funding in spite of being a very slow quarter, and the market share as of total VC actually increased, and that might be the most important signal for us to take away. So let's look Q4 and then we can draw a real trend compared to last year and the year before. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe under aecvc.com, and you can also find me on LinkedIn. See you next time.